Do you feel frustrated trying to grow your franchise? Are you having trouble balancing your consumer and franchise development marketing? Do you wish there was an easier way? Imagine if you had a proven roadmap to take your franchise's marketing from costing you to making you money. That's why we've created the Franchise Growth Blueprint. We walk you through the exact same process that we use to run franchise marketing campaigns for our clients at scale that has resulted in triple-digit growth. This blueprint isn't for anyone. It's not for people just starting a franchise. It's not for franchises without long-term goals. This is for franchises that want to scale up their marketing in a predictable and profitable way using a proven roadmap. If you want to sell more franchises, keep your current franchisees happy, and learn from people who have already done it, go to franchisegrowthblueprint.com and sign up today. That's franchisegrowthblueprint.com. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Franchise Marketing Podcast. Today, I have Chris Raimo, the co-founder and CEO of Happy Cat Hotel. Chris, welcome to the show.
Hey, Jordan, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today, and hello to all the listeners out there.
Of course, it's great to have you on. So for our listeners who don't know about you and Happy Cat Hotel, what exactly do you do?
The Happy Cat Hotel is a luxury boarding, grooming, and retail concept that was born from our experience in the pet industry, pet sitting, dog walking, dog training, things like that. One thing led to another, and ultimately we found our way into cat exclusive services based primarily on the demand, on the lack of supply in the sector at that time, and still to this day. And I don't know if it's the entrepreneurial spirit in us or the creativity or what, but we kind of don't ever do anything normal. Like if we do it, we go big. So it wasn't enough just to board and groom cats. We wanted to be the best and the biggest and the brightest. And so these are seriously like luxury cat hotel rooms, and really taking it over the top. So that has just led us to a path where ultimately we had so much positive feedback and things were going so well, we started kicking around the idea of franchising, and that's kind of where we are right now.
Very cool. Very cool. So tell me more about that kind of light bulb moment that went off when you're like, hey, I want to franchise and that's how I want to grow this.
It was probably about 3 years into the flagship location, which is in Windsor, Connecticut. We did a little bit of fumbling around, as any startup business will, but by the time we were 3 years in, the response from the customers was just overwhelming, whether in person or over the phone or our Google reviews or Facebook reviews. It was different than our previous businesses. We were always successful doing that, but the passion, the fervor for it, the inspiration that we got from customer feedback was just at a different level. And I guess it was sort of an aha moment. I just looked at my wife and I said, this really, we should do more of these. And how would we do that? And, we started our research. One thing led to another, and we could have tried to grow corporately, but franchising was intriguing because of the relationship building and the inspiration that we didn't realize at the time, but wanted to, impart onto other inspired entrepreneurs.
Very cool. Very cool. So, in the franchise industry, when you go from kind of just corporately owned to now having, franchisees within your system, there's a huge mindset shift of where, your end customers are no longer your core customer base. Your core customers now are your franchisees. So what has that mind shift been like for you?
I would say I would say honestly, not um, as jarring as maybe for some other people. Now, there are lots of elements of our business and any business that I'm having a hard time transitioning to. That not as much, and I only say that because I really I'm 41 years old, and just through 20 years of working in small businesses and owning small business, I've learned a lot about myself, and I'm a relationship based soul, I guess is the best way to put it. And to me, franchising is entirely about relationships. And so whether it's the relationship that we have over the counter with our end customer, or the relationship that we're trying to build with our franchisees, it is very much the same, comes from the same place. It's not the same process, but it comes from the same place. And it's a different type of person and so on. But we just want to be inclusive, and we want them to be inspired. We want the end customer to be inspired about bringing their cat to the world's greatest cat hotel. And we want the franchisee to be just as inspired to open one of those and provide that same inspiration to all of their customers.
Very cool. So I guess like tell me more about how are you igniting that inspiration to franchisees, especially as a new system?
Mhm. Yeah, as a new system is definitely the caveat there. I'd say that to some degree it's organic. They're seeing what we're doing in social media, through Facebook, Instagram, even LinkedIn. Though it tends to be more corporate oriented, a little less creative, we still put a lot of the same type of content out there. And it's tapping into something. Wow, I never realized that there was even a concept like this, and that I could step into that. For us at this early stage, it really is about the passion play and the buy-in. We don't have a history of 100 units to show them or to put on display. All we have is what we've done at our 2 corporate units in Connecticut, and the following that we're generating, and that passion, that organic passion. We're not presenting this as an opportunity to make $1 million or anything like that. I mean, we couldn't through disclosure anyways, but you know what I mean? It is entirely about having a happy life, enjoying what you're doing. Yeah, you're going to make money while you're doing it. But this is sort of an awakening, and all of our candidates to this point are coming from the same place. They're coming from that corporate 9 to 5. They're coming from some walk of life where they've been doing it for 20 years. They're in their late 30s, early 40s, and they're looking at, I've got 20 years to go. I want to do it enjoying what I'm doing. And you're telling me that I can make money hanging out with cats, playing with cats, working with customers who love the service and are over the moon about everything. That's a no-brainer. And it's a fraction of what it might cost to get into, 100, you have a more established brand. Yeah, I'll have a chat.
Very cool. Very cool. And you know what? You bring up something that's so important, is finding, franchise candidates that actually have that passion and that kind of emotional involvement where, it's not necessarily just an investment. It's like it's almost like an extension of who you are. So my question to you, Chris, is like, what's your process for finding these people who kind of fit that like mentality of like, oh yeah, let's do this, I love cats?
We're still establishing some of that, I'll be honest. But to this point, we're looking more for that person who's trying to make that quality of life shift, or has experience in the pet industry, but just hasn't hit their stride doing what they're doing. We're reaching out to veterinarians who typically have hit their stride. They tend to be in private practice, but this could serve as a great bolt-on business. We're reaching out to vet techs who a lot of times, work very hard, and it sometimes it doesn't always pay, as much as they would like it to, and there can be a lot of turnover. Don't get me wrong, there's vet techs who do what they do and have loved it for 20, 30 years, but here's an opportunity for them to do something on their own that doesn't require going back to vet school and getting that degree and starting their own practice and taking that very long, tough, expensive haul, to live out their dreams that way. They could step right in on day one, learn the operation here, and their experience as a vet tech is already, puts them way ahead of the crowd. We've got people who, are coming from like the shelter and the rescue world. We've got people who really truly they love cats and dogs as pets, but they have some business acumen, whether they in their corporate world. All of that's very franchise standard to the franchising industry at large. But we're just looking for someone who has gotten to where they're at, done well for themselves, isn't so scared to invest in a business, especially in an early business, and loves animals and just wants to give back in that way and enjoy being around animals. So I think that's it for the most part. I can also say through our recruitment process to this point, we have had some bigger investor type people coming in, very sophisticated, savvy business owners. Maybe they're franchisees already. And it hasn't, we've actually, backed out of those types of relationships or potential relationships because we're just not there yet. We're looking for someone who wants to grow with us, who's going to be an owner operator and have their boots on the ground, because we need that live feedback. I mean, we've done this a few times, but we haven't done it enough to know all things, especially when developing a franchise system. So, somebody who's got the money, fills all those criteria and qualifications, but is just looking for an investment as opposed to something they can really get behind and live and breathe every day. We're just not there yet. It's not our people at this time. Maybe later, but not now.
Mhm. And I think you hit on something really important there, Chris, is, as an emerging brand, you are still kind of ironing out these kind of kinks in your system and refining a lot of the processes. I'm curious, what are some of your like biggest learnings and biggest like surprises in a good way that you've had so far?
We'll get right back to the show, but do you feel frustrated trying to grow your franchise? Are you having trouble balancing your consumer and franchise development marketing? Do you wish there was an easier way? Imagine if you had a roadmap to take your franchise's marketing from costing you to making you money. That's why we've created the Franchise Growth Blueprint. To find out more, visit franchisegrowthblueprint.com. That's franchisegrowthblueprint.com. Now back to today's episode.
Litter boxes. we've I say that in jest a little bit, but I mean, it's a product. It's an item that we use every single day, right? It's a necessary part of the business, and we've probably tested and disqualified, 15 or 16 different litter box brands over the course of our 7 years. Because for one reason or another, it just doesn't work in the system with what we're trying to achieve in terms of efficiency and cleanability and so on and so forth. And I mean, I use that more as an analogy to we are trying all different things and constantly trying to evolve. For us, there's no better marker for that than in our struggles with the litter box. But we've got it now. We know what we're doing. We've got a litter box manufacturer that hits all the points, and they've worked with us to get it where we need. But again, I don't know. I just say that to kind of colorize the struggle of any emerging brand. I think on a more serious nature, one of the the bigger surprises that we've stumbled on. Probably, I'd say either I'd say really the construction element. It's a brick and mortar. It's very unique. We're not just, opening an office type concept, or, I mean, there's a lot that goes into designing and building and engineering these cat rooms. The HVAC systems that need to be run through, the visual, the more artistic side of things, how we decorate, how we furnish them, the functional, how the floors are put together, what materials they're made of. We're not just having people come in and out. We have animals in there. Cats are typically very clean, so it's not like with dogs, but there's still durability and what if there are accidents, and we're constantly cleaning and mopping. And so our first prototype floor, we thought we had it, found out no, over the course of many years this is not going to work out, and so we've had to upgrade our floors and introduce that into the system. And and that's part of our standard construction and building process now, but it was all through trial and error. So I'd say the construction is the biggest part of that.
Awesome. I love that. So how have you, I don't want to say how, but what is your process for, I guess, developing that consistent feedback loop between yourself and your franchisees, so that you are able to flag, hey, like the construction's a huge thing, litter boxes are a huge thing. What was your process for that?
I mean, I think this is a slippery slope as we continue to evolve and get bigger. But honestly, to start out, we were just on text lines with everyone. Our corporate team, we talked about it. Hey, do you mind? We have a corporate text line that everybody has access to, but in breaking off from that, we just wanted to be as accessible as possible to these early stage franchisees. Talk to us every day, text us, call us. It was just open communication at all times, because a lot of times there were decisions that need to be made on the fly. Hey, we sent in an application for zoning in this town, and they kicked back an objection because of this. What do we do? We've got to get this in the next 24 hours, or we're going to miss the hearing for planning and zoning. So it was really just opening it up, putting them on our favorites contact list on our phones, and just living and breathing with them every single day. Again, that's going to get more complicated as we continue to develop. We'll be implementing systems and technology platforms to allow for that constant feedback. It goes into more of a hub, and we can kind of bag out the feedback as it comes through. But that's not us yet. So
Very cool. I love that, just like transparent and raw line directly between you and your franchisees. And I'm sure that also gives them confidence in, being able to know that you have their backs when things do get tough or things do go wrong.
yeah, and I can say too, like when we first started, before we had even our first inquiry, let alone candidate, we thought we wanted to, or I thought I wanted to create a little bit of separation, between myself and that recruitment process, and get them in the pipeline, and at some point they'll connect with the CEO, and just to present that as a more sophisticated system than we were. And it was very short time after having that thought and trying that a little bit, and working with some very smart people in the franchise space, that I realized, I'm forcing that. That doesn't feel real. That's not who we want to be. Give them the CEO's text number. I'll take the first inquiry. I'll take the first, I'll talk to those first few candidates, because that's just is what it is. That's real. That's where we're at. We don't have a huge corporate team. We don't have all these different layers. So why do we want to, put that out in that sort of facade. It's not who we are. And if they can't, deal with that, then if it's concerning that the CEO is taking the initial call, then it's probably not going to work out, because I'm going to be working with them hand in hand for the next 10 months, So we figured that out pretty quick.
I love that that just raw transparency. So Chris, one question that I always love to ask is, what advice would you give someone just starting out as a franchisor?
Patience. It's the big shiny thing on the end of the lure, and and even whether it's not even about money, but just about taking that next step in your entrepreneurial journey. And it is not easy. They're legal, sales, marketing, just all of the different levels of skills and resources that you need to be able to do this and do it well and do it efficiently. And we're still not doing that. We're learning that. But I think just go through that process, really, really qualify yourself and your business before making that jump. It's also, it's god awful expensive too. And if unless you are coming in with investors and making that jump that way, you're probably coming in as a small business, and even an extremely profitable small business is likely not ready to take on this additional expense of franchising the concept and everything that goes into that. So, whether you have a single unit that is shooting to the moon, or you have multiple units that can all absorb the cost of franchising, just really make sure you're ready to incur that, and don't force it, and just be patient with going through that process.
Great advice. So Chris, we are coming near the end of the episode today. And the way that I like to end all of them is with something that I call the lightning round. So it's just a few fast-paced questions coming at you. Don't worry, no hardballs. Are you ready?
You got it.
Awesome. So first question is, what is your favorite tool or app that you cannot live without?
Favorite tool or app? I love Manager Tools. I don't know if you've heard of that. It was developed by, well, am I supposed to elaborate, or that I'll just leave it at that?
Yeah, no, please, by all means.
Yeah, it's a tool that was created by a couple of lifelong entrepreneurs and CEOs, and they have just developed this unbelievably dense platform of resources, from podcasts to written documentation and leadership skills, soft skills, hard skills, everything. And it's all in this one app. And so whether it's something that I'm diving into for myself to continue learning and refining for me, or it's something that I'm sharing with our team, it's got so much different stuff in there to help all of us be better leaders, better managers. I think that's probably my number one go-to. Anytime we've ever come to a crossroads, how to deal with conflict resolution, how to, deal with intrinsic motivation, extrinsic motivation, I've turned there, and there's somewhere in there, there's a good resource.
Very cool. I'm going to have to check it out after this recording.
Sure.
Next question. What is your favorite book?
My favorite book, that is a tough one. I think without question, I love The Old Man and the Sea. I read that in high school, and I don't know how many times since, and it just emotionally, it brings me to a place of do or die success and failure, and just a mix of emotions that still taps into me to this day. Alternatively, from a more self-help kind of place, I would say John Maxwell's 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. That's helped me the most in my professional career.
Very cool. Who is a franchise leader that you look up to?
Wow, so many. As in franchisor, just anybody in the franchise space.
Anyone in the franchise space.
I think my number one shout out would be to Angela Cote. She's over at AC Inc. I don't know if you know Angela, but she's really the one who's taken us through that journey from, small business, considering doing this. What don't we know? And she's really been kind of the angel, Angela, over our shoulder throughout, really to this day. I owe Angela the most of anybody in the industry, for sure.
Nice. Yeah, Angela is a total ninja when it comes to everything franchising.
Yes.
All right, Chris, last question, I promise.
Yep.
Where can people find out more about you and your franchise?
Well, we're not on TV yet, but right now I would say the website is number one. happycathotel.com is the local website for services. happycatfranchising.com is our franchise website. You can go to Facebook and Instagram. We have awesome stuff scrolling through there all the time. Just great content, images of cats and our interactions with them, and stories of our journey with the franchisees. And we also actually have our own podcast, if I can mention that, the Happy Cat Franchising podcast. We basically sit down with our franchisees every week and talk about what's working, what's not, and try to solve problems and go through that process. And we just hit the record button. It's really not even a show. It's just to listen in to everything that we're dealing with. And, we hope that people who are considering franchising are tuning in, because there's got to be some lessons there somewhere along the way.
Sweet. All right, Chris, thank you so much for jumping on this podcast. I really appreciate it. I know our listeners will as well, and you've dropped a ton of knowledge. So thank you again. Yeah, no, thank you so much for having us. And we'll see you out there in the franchise conference space once that happens. I appreciate your time as well, Jordan. Thank you so much for the invite. Thanks, Chris. Okay.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Franchise Marketing Podcast. If you found this episode useful, share it with a friend and subscribe now so you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes. And until then, happy marketing.